My name's Edwin, and I am a nurse. Also, I'm a naturopathic doctor. And I don't know if people know that there are specialists, medical specialists in wound, that all they do is just take care of wounds alone. And top of the lists of wounds that how do I describe it now? That people hate really and won't go away is diabetic foot ulcers. I have a personal vendetta against that one because my mother had diabetic foot ulcer, and it can be terrible. The stench is bad. Yeah, someone listening to me right now might have seen that situation. It can be very ugly. Then there's pressure ulcers. Where if somebody who is immobile, maybe he has a spinal cord injury and has to lie for months on end. I have seen situations where a wound gets so excoriated that you actually see the bone. Wounds can be that bad. Then of course there's surgical wounds. That one is not so bad. And then there's bone healing after fractures, which is a topic on its own. And of course, soft tissue injuries and chronic non-healing wounds in general. That can be terrible. There's nothing as bad and as embarrassing as that. And quite a number of people are going through. Some people, they actually are hiding those wounds. You'll be with someone you don't know he's nursing a wound that has been there for years. And one thing that is very very is underlying, like the LCM, is the fact that inflammation is involved. Microcirculation is a major problem. Nutrients that are supposed to be delivered for healing to take place is not happening. Then there is a low energy there, collagen breakdown, and then there is also infection and that kind of a thing. So usually these wounds, what happens there is because they're not getting the right nutrition, blood flow is a problem. In the clinic, we are very happy as we're cleaning the wounds, we begin to see bleeding. We get very very happy. We know that that's the end of that wound. If blood can be made to flow, healing is in view. But if blood is not flowing, it's not red, then we're still struggling. We need to get blood to flow there. And one of the beautiful things about PEMF is that it's one of those things that gets blood flowing. So if you're a diabetic patient right now that is listening to me, or somebody who has a chronic wound that is refusing to heal, most likely there is a blood flow problem. And this is where PEMF comes in very strong. The microcirculation ability or capability of PEMF inside these particular devices that we're talking about, the OlyLife Therapy 90 and Therapy 90 Plus, and of course there's another one called the Vitality Wand. It helps blood flow so well that I gave it to a lady who forgot. One of the precautions of PEMF, of using this, is if you're a lady and you're in active bleeding, you don't use it. That's if you're on your periods, you don't use it. She forgot, went on this particular device, PEMF device, and continued to bleed for the next 2 weeks. I had been a nurse, I know what to do to stop the bleeding, so I did that, and in a day it stopped. But that's underlines or underpaints or it highlights, that's the word I was looking for. It highlights how good the microcirculation a function of PEMF is in these devices. Once people begin to use, people with serious wound issues begin to use these devices, the blood flow begins to, and then within a short time, wounds that refuse to heal begin to heal. I've seen it several times. And especially for people with diabetic foot ulcer or tendency for that, it will get that blood flowing again. And once that blood flows, the nutrients and the oxygen that is needed for wound healing to take place begins to happen. And that's the beautiful thing about this. If there's because my mother suffered from it, and I see the suffering that goes with it, and the embarrassment, because there's no other wound that has a stench like diabetic foot ulcer. Once we are able to get your foot, or find a way to get you to have PEMF pulse through you, alongside your other treatments, you will find that that wound healing begins to happen. There are a lot of scientific literature on it. If you've had a wound that has stayed over a year, 2 years, and we do have such cases, let's look at from 3 weeks. Yeah, something positive. We'll begin to see some positive from 3 weeks. Now, it could happen before 3 weeks, but let's look at a mean of 3 weeks. I know how it feels to spend because on this kind of situation and not see healing. But I would want to encourage you and say, look, listen, this is a solution to the problem. How do you get it? Once again, I'll let you know that there's somebody waiting at the end of a telephone number that we are going to display. Just listen for it, and somebody's waiting at the other end to listen to you and see how we can get this particular device to you. So the company that markets this, they have a drop shipping model. If you understand what drop shipping is, straight from the factory with the assembly line. So when you pay, wherever you are in the world, if you have relatives in the US, the UK, Canada, the Netherlands, any country, even Asia, you will just make the payment. In fact, it's fastest in the US for people in the US and Canada. Within the space of 5 days to 1 week, you're getting the things delivered straight to your door. For Africa, because we don't have very, very advanced and very organized address systems, we say 2 weeks, and it lands in Lagos, and from Lagos, wherever you are in Nigeria, it will be flown to you, of course, at an extra cost of 16,000, and you go pick it from the office in your city. That is how we are doing it. One, because of the scientific literature. There are a lot of scientific literature on it, and you can go on YouTube, you can do your own research, and you will see the science behind it. I don't like to do anything that I don't see the clear science. That's why I'm able to come out here, and there is clear science on it. Two, it's FDA approved in the US. Before the US comes out to say, hey, we are approved for this, you have to go through a very, very rigorous program. Then three, I have seen it happen several times. I've seen it. So that's the best I can do. But I would say it also is dependent on your cooperation, and of course following your doctor's guidelines.